Hi, this is Teddy, and you're listening to Representative Gwen Moore of the Wisconsin 4th District on Two Broads Talking Politics. Get your vaccine!
Hi, everyone. I am Kelly. This is Two Broads Talking Politics. I'm on with my co-host, Sophie. Hi, Sophie.
Hey, Kelly.
And we are joined today by Congresswoman Gwen Moore, who represents the Wisconsin 4th District. Hello, Congresswoman Moore.
Well, hey, Two Broads. How are you?
We are great. We are delighted to talk to another Midwestern mom, so welcome.
Oh, yeah. It's, the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world.
Indeed. And we have lots of important legislative stuff to talk to you about. But I noticed that you're a knitter. So I just wanted to ask if you've had any time to knit lately.
You know what? I was just thinking that the International Knitting in Public Day is coming up the second Saturday in June. And I need to prepare something. A gathering and a theme or something. So you have just reminded me, because I'm really behind in planning, a little something. I can remember one International Knitting in Public Day where I sat on the steps of the United States Capitol knitting in public, and John Lewis just walked right up the stairs past me as I was knitting in public. So to the extent I memorialize that on social media, people from maybe two different worlds got a chance to be knitted together.
I love that. I'm a huge knitter, so I will join you in knitting in public.
I'm ready to learn. I heard that Michelle Obama knitted a sweater for Barack that she says he's definitely going to wear. And if her two teenage daughters are willing to wear the tank tops she made for them, I'd say she was a good knitter. Two teenagers to wear something you knit? Oh, yeah. Or young women.
Yeah. So speaking of being a mom and speaking of being a good mom who's a knitter, we wanted to talk to you some today about the legislation that you're proposing around maternal health and the Momnibus bill. So can you talk us through just a little bit what you're looking to do with this legislation and what prompted it? Right.
Well, once a mom, always a mom. As a matter of fact, I am not only a mom, but I'm a mom, a grandmother, and a great-grandmother. And so a whole lot of what has informed me is based on my own lived experience. And, so one of the pieces of legislation that I have in the Momnibus, which, of course, is a coordination of about 12 bills put together by Congresswoman Alma Adams and Congresswoman Lauren Underwood from Illinois, who's a nurse. They've put together this package, the Momnibus, and my piece in it is called the Perinatal Workforce Act, which would really expand opportunities for education and training of people, doulas, midwives, maybe lactating specialists, and really give people a career path of this, is because we are really responding to the fact that Black women lead in maternal deaths, and 3 to 4 times. And there's so many interventions that are just not being made. And we think that having doulas would help people navigate the healthcare system so that there is compliance with appointments, that there are people can advocate for you when there are symptoms that are not right, people with some experience, people to help you with dietary concerns. And we want these people to have a career track and to be able to be intentional about raising this perinatal workforce. I don't know if you broads know this, but we are like at the bottom of the so-called, civilized or first world countries in maternal health well-being. I mean, we are, we're at the bottom of some indicators from what we call third world countries in terms of maternal outcomes. When you look at communities like Native Americans, Black women, I mean, this is just a disgrace in the United States of America. And there are just things that are so obvious, and doulas are one of the things. We have a pilot program in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, that is doing very well. It's in zip code 53206. There's a movie about 53206. It's one of the poorest communities in our nation. And another thing that I'm doing outside of the Momnibus is the Mama's First Act. So I can talk about that at some point.
Can you tell us a little bit more about doulas in general and sort of how you see them contributing to helping to bring down the maternal death rate?
Well, doulas are not medical people, but they are advocates. I mean, I remember being pregnant at age 18 and knowing nothing about how to have a successful pregnancy. And were it not for all the aunties that I had around me to explain to me when I woke up in the middle of the night, 4.5, months pregnant, and there was quickening, that there wasn't something going wrong. Explain to me that it was quickening. I mean, I'm panicked. I'm in a, like, what is happening to my body? And, people to make sure, especially some at-risk pregnancies. There are pregnancies that are at risk. People have pre-existing health conditions. People are young. People are poor. I think being poor is a really at-risk problem in terms of nutrition, diet, transportation, back and forth to healthcare systems. We can save a lot of money in the long term in a preventive care situation by making sure that people get proper nutrition, and doulas ought to be compensated for what they do. And have a career track in specializing and helping people through difficult pregnancies, negotiate and advocate with other healthcare systems.
So you mentioned too the Mama's First bill. What would that be doing?
Mama's First bill would be a component that would actually provide the Medicaid funding to fund things like doulas. And like I said, we're prepared to bring, studies and to bring the sort of proof and, billable kinds of services that they provide. But when you think about the cost of maternal deaths and infant mortalities, and there's such a huge disparity. And you can't anticipate everything that might go wrong. People love to give the example of Serena Williams and how her pregnancy went so wrong as a woman of color. That might slip through the cracks, but there's so much that's so knowable when when there are mamas that are in at-risk situations, when they have low wealth, when they're isolated, when getting back and forth to the doctor for a checkup means, a round trip Uber ride of, $22, it matters, and it matters a lot. And so we want, and we want to lift up all, the work that women do is very valuable, and it has contributed so much to our, not only economy, but to our civilization. What we do is worth being compensated. There's so much, there's like $500 billion worth of uncompensated care just in women who take care of elders and seniors and people in their lives who have fallen prey to illness and stuff. Our work has some pecuniary value. Mm-hmm. And, recognizing that work is the only way to build any kind of equity.
So we had been talking a couple of weeks ago with someone about the Pregnant Workers Act and said that this seems like the kind of thing we should be able to get bipartisan support on. And this Momnibus bill similarly seems like everyone should support moms and healthy babies, and that there should be bipartisan support for this. Do you anticipate that there will be? What does the likelihood of this bill passing with bipartisan support, or even just passing in general, look like right now?
Well, from your lips to God's ears, that it passed on a bipartisan basis. I don't want to be pessimistic. The Republicans have been so ornery lately. I mean, who'd have thunk it that every single Republican would vote against providing funding for police, for the Capitol Police? I mean, you couldn't have put a 357 Magnum to my head and made me believe that every single Republican would vote against funding for the police. So I can't predict, but you would think that for people who claim the mantra of right to life and caring about babies and children, that this would be just spot on for them, because it really does intervene in a really critical part of people's lives. I mean, I just was on a call earlier today where we talked about, maternal deaths and infant mortality. This occurs within 48 hours on either side of childbirth. So we know these are critical periods, to make interventions. But what they also admitted, that there's a whole lot of other inequity that happens before people get to the delivery room, like not having good nutrition, not like having had good health care through your pregnancy, not like those visitations. We take that for granted. I was pregnant my first time. I knew nothing about being pregnant. Nothing at all. And I gave birth, and it was actually a visiting nurse that showed me how to put a diaper on. I mean, people take for granted, what people have. And the care that they're getting is free. They get pregnant, their mamas are flying across country to be with them the first 2 weeks they're home from having their baby, or before they have their baby, or they live in the community. There are people like doulas who are prepared to deliver professional services to ameliorate maternal deaths. And we need to compensate them through Medicaid. Those are the interaction of my two bills.
So I also live in Wisconsin, and one problem is that Wisconsin has not expanded Medicaid under the Affordable Care Act. How do we help low and middle income women who aren't on Medicaid, but also don't qualify for the subsidies and can't afford health insurance?
Well, Sophie, it would be you to kind of bring up, the ugly side of politics in Wisconsin. It's just, what can I tell you, except it's stupid. I mean, we'd get $1.6 billion extra dollars in federal aid if we were to expand Medicaid. We'd be able to cover 90,000 more people, 10,000 of them, people who are like $1 above the quote unquote poverty level. And the Republican, it's all political. It's just silly. It's like, we need to let people know what the connection between policy making and politics is. This is that nexus right here. You got to throw the bums out when they just don't get it. When they just, somebody making $18,000 a year, some single man or woman with no kids, making $18,000 a year, working minimum wage, 40 hours, is ineligible for Medicaid. I mean, these are the people that we're characterizing as lazy bums, ne'er-do-wells that we can't provide basic health care for. I mean, and we're going to pay $1.6 billion not to get, you know what? this arithmetic is just too complicated for me that the Republicans got going on. It's like with the voodoo economics, as they call it. Lose money to take care of fewer people. It don't make no sense. It's all Republican hogwash. Excuse me for being partisan.
So before you were in Congress, you were in the Wisconsin State Assembly and the Wisconsin State Senate. If we have women moms listening who would like to make a difference and would like to make sure that their states expand Medicaid and stuff like that, what's your advice for those people who might be interested in running in state legislature or things like that about how to get involved in politics and how to really make a difference?
Well, thank you for that question, because people are always coming to me saying that they're interested in politics. And I'm just saying, first, be interested in your doggone community. Mm-hmm. When you exercise leadership, for me, I did not aspire to be an elected official. I aspired to make a difference in my community. I served on the board of the neighborhood association. I was a VISTA volunteer that put together a community development credit union because we didn't have credit that was being extended into our community. I would protest because the banks wouldn't lend and invest in our community. I mean, by the time I ran for office, people knew me from my work. I could point to the house across the street that I advocated for to get tax credits, to get rehab, to get back on the tax. I mean, people need to work. Nobody really wants those people who want to be elected just to be elected. This is a stewardship. And I mean, I ain't interested in those people who just want to be elected myself. And so if you're that person who cares about your community, and you want to make a difference at that level, go for it. There are a lot of sacrifices that you make, but it's worth it to have the privilege to serve people.
So I have another piece of legislation I want to ask you about, and that is the Universal School Meals Program that was really expanded during COVID, and you're advocating to make that change permanent. Can you talk about what that would mean to be able to end child hunger by making this school meals program a more permanent change?
Well, this legislation, I'm really happy to be joining Ilhan Omar of Minnesota on this initiative. And really, it comes out of my own lived experience of being that hungry child that, we were on welfare. And so therefore they regarded giving me free lunch as a duplication of service. And so I couldn't get free. So I went often without breakfast and without lunch to school. So it's my own lived experience. And realizing out of all of the complicated things that we do, feeding kids is really low-hanging fruit. And it also comes out of my lived experience, not just as a child, but as a parent. My child went to school one time, and these people did not, I don't know what happened to her lunch money, whether I had the money or she lost it or spent it on the way to school on chocolates. I don't know what happened. But she went to school and they did not give her lunch. And I mean, I just went off on them. I mean, legally, she is in your custody. Don't you ever deny my child food. And if you have to sue me for the 25 cents, go for it. Send me off to small claims court to get the 50 cents. Do what you need to do, but don't abuse my child. It really is the best interest of the child. So I say all that to say about the universal benefit. Instead of putting people in the position of food shaming, you get the red ticket if you are free lunch, you get the green ticket if you paid. It basically, if you got a school where 80%, 70% of the kids are eligible for school lunch, why would you deny that kid whose parent didn't get the paperwork back in? And why? Just give everybody a free lunch. And not only that, the science is in, people. Who knew that just feeding people helps their brains, helps them concentrate? I mean, breaking news. I mean, you heard it here first on the Broad Show. Feeding people, it really actually works. Helps you learn, helps you retain. My God, breaking news, Broad. Sophie, did you know this?
Pretty exciting news. You heard it here, folks.
I'm very excited about being in the majority. But again, this has a fiscal impact, Mama's First. And so we'll see. There are, it'll take some work, individual leaning into some people. There are people that might appreciate this. I have a couple of women in mind, people who are not part of the insurrectionist group over there among the Republicans who might be interested, and maybe even a couple of guys. I mean, people who are sincere about the thing. The thing is that, everybody tells the story of, the people jumping in the river, saving all the drowning babies that are in there. And then somebody finally says, go up there and stop them from throwing the babies in the river in the first place, that point of entry. And I mean, that's what we really can do here. I mean, we can, if we are interested, if we say, and if this fits in with the so-called Right to Life group, along with progressives, to say, look, our best fiscal conservatives, we save a whole lot of money when we make preventive care and urgent it's a lot cheaper to get a doula to make sure somebody takes their prenatal capsules, they get to appointments, that they, let's make sure that we get them some WIC, and that we change the WIC formulary so we get more fresh vegetables and stuff than cheese. Just saying that we, that's a different program, Broads. We'll have to have me back on that one. But I mean, that we get people healthy food and we give babies the very best start that they could get. And then we give them what women need. And those are things like doulas to help them navigate pregnancies, especially when they're young, when they're at risk, and when they need that extra support. Even a situation where you got a good mom, but she's got 3 other kids, and to have a support system and someone that you can call up and check in with, because your person who delivers your baby, they're not going to have contact with you that often. The checkups and the delivery room.
So what should we all be doing to help you get this passed?
Well, thank you for asking. I think it's really important to let people know that they should call in and say that they support the Momnibus and that they support the Mama's First Act. The Mama's First Act is what provides the money for the perinatal workforce, which is a part of the Momnibus. The Momnibus is an awesome bill, and there are, so we don't have time to go through all of the bills, but, it checks off a lot of boxes, up to and including being concerned about incarcerated women who are pregnant. Mm-hmm. And so I just want to give hats off to my sisters, Dr. Alma Adams, representative from North Carolina, and of course, nurse Lauren Underwood from Illinois, in terms of their leadership on the Momnibus. And so proud to be a part of it.
Excellent. Well, we have an army of moms listening, so we will tell them all that they need to call their representatives and senators and tell them to support the Momnibus and Mamas First. Representative Moore, is there anything else that you wanted to make sure we talk about today?
I just want to say, once a mom, always a mom. I'm a septuagenarian, but it's my lived experience that lets me know that I have been just a beneficiary of doggone serendipity, just luck and good fortune. and, having connections with healthcare systems and insurance. And these are privileges that I don't take for granted. And we are so at risk. And you are so deserving of the kind of care, and you are entitled to it. So when you show up in the healthcare system pregnant, tell me, I know that there's some kind of program, because Gwen Moore told me that ought to be able to help me have a safe pregnancy.
I love that. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for speaking with us today. And thank you for everything that you are doing in Congress to help support moms and women and Midwesterners. So thank you.
Well, you two broads take care and keep broadening the conversation.
We'll try.
We will. Thank you. Be sure to check out our last episode with Nicole Lynn Lewis, founder and CEO of Generation Hope and author of the book Pregnant Girl, A Story of Teen Motherhood, College, and Creating a Better Future for Young Families. And next Wednesday, we'll be doing a Vote Her In videocast with my representative, Representative Robin Kelly of the Illinois 2nd District.
Thank you for listening to Two Broads Talking Politics, part of the Dimcast Podcast Network. Our theme song is called Are You Listening? Off of the album Elephant Shaped Trees by the band Immunuri, and we're using it with permission of the band. Our logo and other original artwork is by Matthew Weflin and was created for use by this podcast. You can contact us at twobroadstalkingpolitics@gmail.com or on Twitter or Facebook at Two Broads Talk. You can find all of our episodes at twobroadstalkingpolitics.com or anywhere podcasts are found.